There are few comic book superheroes that can compare to Batman when it comes to legacy. The Caped Crusader is ageless, being reimagined time and time again while being the sensation that the figure has always been. Director Matt Reeves The Batman, with its comic book origins and all-star ensemble, is being released worldwide. Early reviews indicate that the picture will be a critical hit, so let's see how it compares to the other live-action Batman adaptations. The rankings are calculated by averaging the Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic scores for each film. Ranked last at number 11 we have Batman and Robin with 19.5 score. Batman and Robin was a poor imitation astride a star vehicle doomed for a downhill spiral, with an incomprehensible narrative and overly theatrical acting. While Uma Thurman's portrayal as Poison Ivy was partly redeemable, it was not enough to compensate for the plot's muddled jumble. Whether it was the cringe-worthy one-liners or the over-the-top goofiness that includes a bat credit card and bat nipples, the picture just scraped through with an 11% Rotten Tomatoes rating and a Metacritic score of 28. At number 10 we have Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice with a score of 36. The $250 million tragedy Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice pitted two of DC's most recognizable heroes against each other. It was a harrowing story of two guys battling and claiming to be correct when it was painfully evident that they were both incorrect. Zack Snyder accomplished what director does best by infusing the tale with a sense of gravity and gloom, but the result was a story that was not only too reliant on CGI, but also lacked coherence and purpose. The film has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 28% and a Metacritic score of 44, with critics praising the film's never-ending somber atmosphere as a hardship to get through. At number 9 we have Justice League. The popularity of Justice League was limited by its predictable plot, which made everything one-dimensional and excessively reliant on CGI. Despite the fact that Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman seemed like a savior in this congested superhero mix, she was severely underutilized and generally ignored. The last-minute director switch from Zack Snyder to Joss Whedon didn't help matters either. Justice League currently has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 40% and a Metacritic score of 45, with many fans hoping that the Snyder cut would save the picture. Number 8. Batman Forever with score of 45. Val Kilmer's underwhelming performance as Bruce Wayne isn't solely to blame for Batman Forever's poor critic score of 39% on Rotten Tomatoes and a Metacritic score of 51. The Riddler and Two-Face, whose main job was to overact as much as possible, were given a lot of screen time, yet the combined charm of Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones made for an odd watch. The same cannot be said about Robin, the sidekick who displayed his rebelliousness by having him wear an earring and persistently referring to Alfred as Al. Even Nicole Kidman's performance as Bruce's love interest, Dr. Chase Meridian, couldn't salvage the film. At number 7 it's Batman from 1989 with the score of 70. Tim Burton's Batman had an indisputable quality spectacle, despite being criticized at the time for its grim tone. This melancholy version on The Dark Knight, performed beautifully by Michael Keaton, was released in 1989. It was bolstered even more by Jack Nicholson's iconic depiction of the Joker, who even overshaded the main character at times. Burton's debut film as the renowned DC superhero was a critical and economic success, with a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 71% and a Metacritic score of 69. Number 6. Batman Returns with the score of 74. Burton's Batman Returns, which picks up 3 years after the original picture, has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 78% and a Metacritic score of 68 with good cause. Fans received some immaculate casting in the shape of Danny DeVito's terrifying performance as the Penguin, not just because Michael Keaton is returning with his terrific depiction of the troubled millionaire vigilante. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman made her debut in Batman Returns, and her performance became as legendary as Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the Joker. Though the picture has times where it goes beyond disturbing to be outright unsettling, Burton's overall tone is difficult to fault. Matt Reeves, the director of The Batman, discusses whether or not Superman exists in the film's universe. At number 5 we have Batman the Movie with 74.5 score. Batman the Movie is still regarded as one of the greatest adaptations of the vigilante from comic books. The film's strongest feature is how it acts as a hilarious homage to the dynamic duo, who band together to stop the Riddler, the Penguin, the Joker, and Catwoman from carrying out their nefarious intentions. The picture was a critical triumph, with a 78% Rotten Tomatoes score and a Metacritic score of 71. It had tongue-in-cheek comedy and a well-handled campiness. At number 4 there is Batman Begins with the score of 77. While some questioned Batman Begins' success due to Christian Bale's hiring, the film's critic score of 84% on Rotten Tomatoes and a Metacritic score of 70 show that such fears were unfounded. Nolan's depiction of the gloomy vigilante eliminated the whimsical characteristics Burton and Schumacher had brought to the character and instead focused on who Bruce Wayne is outside of his Batsuit. Batman Begins is widely regarded as one of the finest superhero origin pictures ever made, thanks in large part to Christian Bale's flawless depiction of the Dark Knight. At number 3 for now is Robert Pattinson's The Batman with score of 80. While many questioned Matt Reeves' decision to cast Robert Pattinson in The Batman, it looks that the famed actor was the perfect option. The actor's enraged and furious portrayal of the Dark Knight contributed to the film's noir status. Similarly, Paul Dano's portrayal of the Riddler was terrifying, as the figure fought hard to uncover Gotham City's corruption. Following in the footsteps of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, the picture focuses on a more grounded portrayal of the vigilante while stressing Batman's savagery. In the days leading up to its release, The Batman's Rotten Tomatoes score was 87%, while its Metacritic score was 70. If the early reports are correct, Reeves will almost certainly be able to create a sequel. After all, there has already been speculation of a sequel. At number 2 we have The Dark Knight Rises with score of 82.5. The Dark Knight Rises was Nolan's dramatic and cinematically gratifying conclusion to his Batman trilogy, in which he skillfully avoided clichés by bending in unexpected ways. Even while the storyline evolved and progressed at a fast speed, with Bruce Wayne emerging from retirement to put an end to Bane's reign of terror, the plot's success was still dependent on the complexity of its characters. The Dark Knight Rises is recognized for Tom Hardy's depiction of Bane and the culmination of Christopher Nolan's all-time trilogy, with a critic score of 87% on Rotten Tomatoes and a Metacritic score of 78. And finally at number 1 we have The Dark Knight with the score of 89. For operating as both an iconic superhero film and an exciting criminal epic, The Dark Knight takes the cake as the best-reviewed Batman film. Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker, who portrayed the adversary to Bale's Bruce Wayne, deserves the most of the plaudits. The Grim Knight now has a reviewer score of 94% and a Metacritic score of 84, and is praised for its dark yet fascinating narrative and storytelling.